Backchat TV. Subscribe.
He has also talked about it. That left hook is so good, and it's so long and so precise and so hard, but
What's going on, boxing fans and everybody out there watching? It's Backchat TV, and we're back with another matchup that I didn't want to speak about, to be honest. October the 28th, I think the date is set for Tyson the Gypsy King Fury versus Nganou, Francis Nganou. To say that there are mixed views about this fight would be an understatement. Definitely an understatement. Nobody called for this fight. The majority of fans don't want this fight to happen. And the reason why a lot of people don't want this fight to happen is not because, they're hating on Tyson Fury, which is what Tyson Fury is saying, or they don't want Francis Ngannou to get a good payday or an opportunity. It's not because of all that. It's because people don't want to see this fight replace an undisputed fight, which is the most, the biggest prize in boxing. People don't want to see it be replaced by this type of exhibition fight. If Tyson Fury had made the fight with Alexander Usyk, had fought Anthony Joshua, those two fights, like we were promised as fans, then people would have no problem with him fighting Francis Ngannou. But those fights weren't made. And even some up-and-coming contenders like the American Jared Anderson, or even just as deserving would be the Cuban, up-and-coming Cuban heavyweight, unbeaten, Frank Sanchez. There's many people Tyson Fury could have fought. He didn't have to go to this kind of joke of a fight against Francis Ngannou and then act like the victim, act as if people are being unfair to him, that other people have done it before. See, the thing with Tyson Fury is that Tyson Fury, even though he doesn't say it, he believes that beating Deontay Wilder makes him the best of all time, and it doesn't. Floyd Mayweather beat some amazing fighters, but he still had to beat all comers, all contenders, for him to be given the respect of the best of all time, or to be in that conversation. Beating Deontay Wilder, just one fighter. He held one belt for a long time, but even before Tyson Fury fought him, people thought he was one-dimensional. He only has the right hand, people said. You have to beat all the people in your era to become great. And Tyson Fury thinks he's great already. He beat Vladimir Klitschko, who had been beaten before, so he wasn't unbeaten. Anthony Joshua also beat him after Tyson Fury, so that wasn't unique. He beat Deontay Wilder. Now that was a great win, and that was the win that puts Tyson Fury in the conversation. Yeah. Apart from that, Tyson Fury hasn't beaten anybody. Derek Chisora doesn't count. Someone who's been beaten many times. He needs to do more in this era to be great. There's no point he looks like he's one of the best of all times, but he has to fight the best of all times to be considered that. And Francis Ngannou, coming from a completely different sport, never laced up the gloves to actually have a boxing match at this level, just doesn't come close to what fans expect of him, and that's really what it comes down to. Also, the negotiations with Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua left a bad taste in most of the fans' mouth, because Alexander Usyk is seen as quite a stand-up guy. He's never disrespectful. He never shouts profanities, unlike Tyson Fury. He's always kind of the most respectful kind of poster boy for the sport, if you like. Same as Lomachenko, from the people from his country, they seem to be very respectful people. So people already have an idea of Alexander Usyk's character. And the reason why that's important is when they entered negotiations with Tyson Fury and Frank Warren, people took the side of Alexander Usyk because it was quite transparent to see that it was Tyson Fury that was making the problems. Alexander Usyk his team made an offer to Tyson Fury, which was rejected by Tyson Fury. And then a follow-up offer, I think it was when they made the offer of 50-50 per split, which was rejected. And eventually, Tyson Fury's side came back with 70-30, which I don't think was actually Frank Warren's idea. I think it was Tyson Fury's idea. I'll tell you why in a minute. I think Tyson Fury always wanted to make the fight with Nganou anyway, because Tyson Fury and his dad were talking about a potential fight with Nganou long before the Alexander Usyk fight was confirmed. They were talking about it all the time as if they wanted to push this narrative as Nganou is the most dangerous guy, so that when Tyson Fury fights him and beats him, he'll be considered the best of all time without actually fighting the best. And you know, even when I saw Tyson Fury's dad, John Fury, in an interview, who I've got a lot of respect for, and I really like John Fury, you know, but he will be a little bit unfair when it comes to his son. He was talking about Nganou being more dangerous than Alexander Usyk, and he's probably one of the most dangerous fighters. It's as if they were trying to hype this fight up so that they could avoid the real heavyweight contenders from way before these negotiations. Anyway, I digress. When the negotiations did come about, Alexander Usyk was extremely fair in his offer, and it was rejected 2 or 3 times before Tyson Fury came back with a completely crazy, unfair offer of 70-30. Which I believe he thought Alexander Usyk wouldn't take, and Alexander Usyk in the end accepted it. And then they still couldn't get the fight made. And at this time, there was all this abuse coming from Tyson Fury, verbal abuse, personal attacks online, directed towards a man who hasn't even said anything disrespectful to you. I understand hyping up the fight, but this was a little bit more personal. There was like these attacks coming from nowhere. You know, Alexander Usyk had never said anything disrespectful to Tyson Fury before this. And there was all this anger and all this stuff he was spewing online. And I feel like he was saying this to kind of build this animosity. Not to hype the fight, but to actually get out of the fight. You know, to say, I'm not fighting this guy, you know, to build up this dislike so that he could get out of the fight for some reason. I don't know why. I don't believe Tyson Fury is scared of him, you know. But for some reason, I just don't think he wanted to fight with Alexander Usyk. He made some ridiculous terms, and I think he tried to lowball him. He thought maybe he's a bigger star than he thought he was. Maybe he thought that no one would respect someone from, you know, a country that's not from the UK or from America, which is something he actually said. He said, the heavyweight champion has to come from one of the Western countries, America or the UK, and you know that the biggest stars are in the West, as if people from the other parts of the world don't matter. And I think he kind of overplayed that, and he found out the hard way that he isn't the only star in boxing, and people do have a lot of love and respect for Alexander Usyk because he's a stand-up guy. You know, and he's made himself into the villain here. There's many times he could have accepted one of these offers on his terms, and he didn't. And the fight didn't happen, and he got blamed for it, and he doesn't like it. The fight with Anthony Joshua, same thing. He said he was giving Anthony Joshua a lifeline because Anthony Joshua didn't deserve it, which is true. He lost his fight prior to that. But then he gave him an unfair deadline. Nobody can get ready in a few weeks. By November, when he wanted him to get ready, you know, Anthony Joshua came back and said, I would be ready by this time, because obviously he has to get in camp. And Tyson Fury started the same shenanigans. I'm giving you 5 days to accept you. I'm withdrawing the offer. It wasn't a real offer. You know, it was just, he just wanted to show the public that he was a bigger man than Anthony Joshua by giving him a lifeline to show that he was a greater person than Anthony Joshua, kind of a virtual signaling. And the fans turned against them. They didn't like that, and I didn't like that either. If you're going to give Anthony Joshua a shot, give him a fair shot. Let him have a training camp, a proper time scale. You know, that's what people are unhappy with. Tyson Fury's antics, and then playing the victim when people complain about it. Abusing people online, going on True Geordie, and you saw the way he acted towards him. And True Geordie was just speaking the truth. He was being respectful of True Geordie, to be honest. He was just literally speaking about people's concerns and what they think. And Tyson Fury didn't want to accept that, became abusive. He's also abused a lot of people on the TalkSport platform, where they were just talking about people's concerns. It's the same thing. You know, he did these, it's not new. He did this before, said that everyone was against him. The time when he reneged on his agreement to fight Vladimir Klitschko in the rematch. And then he disappeared, and then he had his breakdown and stuff like that. You know, people don't really want this kind of... People don't accept this type of behavior. They like a stand-up person who says what they're going to do and tries their best, at least, to make these fights happen. Tyson Fury has fallen short of this, and that's why he's getting criticism. Now, the funny thing is, I actually feel, like most people probably, that Frank Warren shares some of this blame, because he's been standing up for Tyson Fury's antics, saying that Tyson Fury is the one that's been hard done by. But I don't actually believe that Frank Warren believes this himself. I think Frank Warren is actually quite upset with Tyson Fury, but he can't show that. If you read between the lines, Frank Warren is very upset that this fight fell through between Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk. He wanted to make the fight, but I believe that when the offer came through, he was telling Tyson Fury about what the offer was, and Tyson Fury himself was the one making it difficult and trying to, you know, lowball Alexander Usyk. And I don't think Frank Warren was happy about this, but he went along with it because Tyson Fury is a big star, but he's a very volatile character. He's the type of character that if Frank Warren was to tell him the truth and say, look, we should take this is fair, you know, Tyson Fury will get upset about it. And Warren didn't want that. You know, Tyson Fury could pull out and say, I'm not fighting, or something like that. I believe from the body language of Frank Warren that he has found Tyson Fury to be quite a difficult person to work with, but because he's still promoting him, he has to pretend as if he agrees with all the things that Tyson Fury said, and he has to back him up with these ridiculous arguments that he's been the one that's been unfairly treated. And I don't really think Frank Warren believes it himself, but I could be wrong. If he does believe it himself, then he shares equal blame with Tyson Fury, because he's out here on TalkSport and on these different platforms talking as if Tyson Fury has done nothing wrong. You know, he hasn't done nothing wrong. The fight fell through. It was Alexander Usyk who withdrew unfairly, and it was unfair to Tyson Fury, and there was nobody else to fight, and so he had to fight Francis Ngannou, and Francis Ngannou is a very dangerous fighter. We've all heard this. It's nonsense. Someone with so much experience like Frank Warren saying all this nonsense. None of these things are true. You're just saying this because you have to protect Tyson Fury's fragile ego. There's the fight between Alexander Usyk could have been made if it wasn't for Tyson Fury being difficult. Everybody knows this. The fight between Anthony Joshua could have been made for the same reason. And someone with the kind of experience that Frank Warren has in the game, for him to say that Francis Ngannou is the only person they could find and is probably the most dangerous, is so disingenuous that it's offensive to the public. Francis Ngannou is a great UFC champion. UFC and boxing is totally different. Everybody knows what's going to happen in this fight. Any person who's not a casual fan knows. Personally, I don't give Francis Ngannou a chance. A boxer concentrates and focuses all their attention on punching technique, boxing punching technique. And we know that UFC fighters fight in different gloves. You know, you just can't compare the two. I mean, Tyson Fury is going to be hitting Ngannou with a jab from out of range. He's got a massive 85-inch range, Tyson Fury. He's going to be moving around the ring, hitting Ngannou with a jab, every now and then hitting him with a right hand. And within the first 2 or 3 rounds max of being hit flush and getting tired, all of that power, which is a bit of a smokescreen with Ngannou, is going to disappear, and he's going to become a less than average fighter, and it's going to just become an exhibition of Tyson Fury hitting Ngannou. and Nganou not being able to catch up. It's just obvious. That's the most likely thing to happen, because boxing is different. There's a stamina issue to it. It's more like a marathon, you know. There's a lot of things involved. It's not like UFC. UFC is actually quite a fast-paced fight. Even though, you know, they have 5 rounds, it's quite a fast-paced fight. There's lots of ways of either getting your opponent to the ground. You know, you can punch, you can kick, you can knee, you can elbow. You know, there's wrestling involved. There's all sorts of things involved. In boxing, you can't do any of that. You have to have punching, striking skills, stamina, and also just having power, which is what Nganou has, is not enough especially in boxing, because power is easily defeated by fast hands and fast feet, which Tyson Fury has. Fast hands, fast hand speed, fast feet, good defense, good stamina. All these things completely nullify power. So, you know, this is the reason why people are not interested in this fight. I would rather Tyson Fury fight a Frank Sanchez if he couldn't get Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk in the ring. I'd rather see that fight than this fight. I'd rather see him fight a lot of contenders that are available to fight than to see this fight. And like I said, I would be interested in seeing Nganou and Fury fight, but after the real fights, you know. But yeah, anyway, I've been talking long enough. I'm sure by now you've realised what side of the fence I'm on. I do like Tyson Fury, but he has some parts of his character which I think let him down. And yeah, I'm just not happy about this. I'm the same as a lot of fans. Not happy about him ducking the Undisputed. This is what everybody wanted to see, and now he's trying to sell us this gimmick, and we should pay for it. I'm not interested. Let me know what you think. I'm on to the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment. Feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing a lot more of a similar nature.